In the scene where Serhat notices Ali's strange reaction to the new employee Pelin, he immediately pretends not to understand. This understatement and hidden tension in the office work as a clear hint at their secret past. Most likely, in the next episode, Ali will try to use this connection to test Pelin's loyalty. After the argument where Ebru warns Jihan about the monster slumbering inside him, the situation looks like a setup for the future. Now that Jihan is paralyzed and completely at the mercy of the cruel Azra, his hidden rage will inevitably break out. It seems that next we will see how this very monster will force Jihan to take revenge on his wife from his wheelchair. When Barak bluntly tells Rafika that she won't leave anyone alone until she gets what she wants, her obsession with Serhat reaches a new level. This threat doesn't sound like a mere whim. It is most logical to expect that in the new episode, she will start using Kader as a direct blackmail tool, forcing Serhat to play a happy family. Exactly after this conversation, where Barak, in response to Serhat's threats, smilingly reminds him of the anniversary of their meeting, the depth of her illusions becomes visible. This detail hints that she will further try to recreate their past. The likely move here is that Barak will force Serhat to go on a humiliating date in exchange for a meeting with the child. The scene where Sevim coldly rejects the paralyzed Jihan begging for forgiveness leaves him in absolute isolation. The lack of any support from his mother deprives him of his last allies. Judging by this line's finale, in the continuation, Jihan will out of desperation start looking for help from his old enemies to break free from Azra's control. In the prison cell, Barak throws an accusation right in Zainab's face about stealing Serhat. Here, her thirst not just to take Kader, but to completely destroy her rival morally is clearly traceable. After such a confession, it can be expected that Barak will intentionally set up situations where Zainab will be forced to watch her fake family happiness with Serhat. Zainab very accurately notices that motherhood for Barak is just a shield covering her dirt. This short exchange of remarks sets the vector for the future struggle. The most logical next step here is that Zainab will start secretly collecting evidence of Barak's negligence to smash this shield in court. When Barak transparently hints at the only condition for returning the girl, Zainab perfectly understands the price. This moment leaves no choice. A direct confrontation is impossible for now. Most likely, because of this ultimatum, Zainab will decide to act proactively and start deliberately distancing herself from Serhat, preparing the ground for a fake breakup in the next episode. Ilkim's threat to reveal Hayal's secret account seems like a petty domestic quarrel, but it perfectly shows how easily Ilkim uses blackmail. This detail works as a hint at her methods. It looks like her habit of eavesdropping will further lead to her getting hold of a much more serious family secret and starting to dictate her terms to the adults. Zainab hugs Kader tightly and swears that she will definitely take her back. By this desperate reaction, it seems she will be ready to cross any line for the sake of the child. And while you leave a like and subscribe to the channel, let's continue. It is logical to expect that Zainab will secretly agree to Barak's cruel conditions, even risking her own marriage. To Hayal's question about the reasons for Serhat's anger, Jihan avoids a direct answer, referring to adult matters. However, the girl's sympathy makes her an ideal target. After such a scene, we can expect that a cornered Jihan will cold-bloodedly use his niece's pity to secretly pass messages outside the mansion. When Sevim harshly refuses to pay Didem's card debts, the conflict between the former relatives sharply escalates. Didem is clearly not controlling her addiction and is on the edge. Against the background of such a scene, the most likely move is that, left without money, Didem will start directly blackmailing Serhat or Barak herself, turning into a ticking time bomb for everyone. Didem's hidden trump card is the information about Kader's secret visit to the hospital, which Serhat doesn't know about. This thrown threat sounds like a direct preparation for the next strike. It means that in the new episode, the hospital secret will definitely be revealed, giving Serhat an ironclad reason to accuse Barak of harming the child. The fact that Ilkim overheard the deal between Sevim and Didem completely changes the balance of power in the house. The grandmother asks her granddaughter to keep quiet, thereby giving her control. Because of this, in the next episode, Ilkim will surely start manipulating Sevim, bargaining for her freedom of action and deepening the split within the family. Gamze's phone call, where she intrusively calls Serhat a family member and offers mutual support, exposes her insatiable thirst for profit. This attempt to cling to someone else's wealth will not go unnoticed. It is logical to expect that her excessive appetites in the very next episode will provoke a harsh conflict with the proud Mustafa, who will not tolerate such humiliation. The scene where Serhat politely but dryly declines Rafika's invitation, citing Zeynep's fatigue, shows his internal breakdown. He no longer wants to pull everything on his own. Judging by this cold reaction, in the continuation, Serhat will systematically start cutting off those who do not trust him completely. During a heavy conversation, Serhat directly accuses Zeynep of choosing to run away rather than fighting together with him. For him, this is a strike at the most painful point, the fear of betrayal. After this conversation, we can expect Serhat to build an impenetrable emotional wall, refusing to compromise. Zeynep defends herself by claiming her departure saved Serhat from an agonizing choice between children. But her sacrifice only exacerbates the conflict. Having made a decision for both of them, she broke the trust. Therefore, it is most logical to expect that Serhat will strike back and start acting in Kader's case single-handedly, completely ignoring his wife's opinion. Barak's cruel words that Kader will become a curse for Zeynep vividly demonstrate the level of psychological abuse over the child. The girl hears and absorbs everything. This detail hints that further emotional pressure will provoke Kader to run away or rebel, which will inevitably force Serhat to intervene using brute force. The argument on the doorstep ends with Serhat's demand to wait for him and Zeynep's counter-refusal to tolerate such orders. Neither is willing to yield an inch. This short exchange of remarks leads to their connection being completely paralyzed by pride, leaving both defenseless against Barak's manipulations. Azra's mockery of the fallen Cihan shows her true face. She openly enjoys his helplessness, reminding him of old grievances. After such a scene, we can expect that in the next episode, her revenge will become even more sophisticated. She will completely isolate her husband, cutting off all his communication channels with the outside world. The ease with which Azra lies to Ebru about Cihan's accidental fall reveals her as a first-class manipulator. She can instantly change masks. This means that next, Azra will easily convince the rest of the family of her sacrifice and devotion, turning Cihan's life into a perfect prison invisible to others. When Azra cold-bloodedly threatens to put Cihan in a nursing home, reminding him of his poverty and loneliness, she crosses the Rubicon. This is no longer just revenge, but a matter of survival for Cihan. The most logical next step here is that he will swallow his pride and secretly start begging Serhat or Can for salvation. After a public scandal where Serhat shouts accusations of betrayal at Can and kicks him out of the hotel, the brothers' performance reaches its climax. This loud scene is meant exclusively for spies. That is exactly why it is logical to expect that in the next episode, rumors will instantly reach Nechat, and Can will get the green light to infiltrate. During the quarrel, Serhat hits where it hurts, stating that Can has achieved nothing and has no rights to the hotel. This insult is a perfect cover story. Most likely, Can will use this fabricated motive of a marginalized brother as the main argument when convincing Nejat of his loyalty. Hayal's confession that Can came but she didn't let him in shows her desire to protect her father. However, her involvement makes the situation unstable. By this reaction, it seems that Hayal's excessive vigilance will lead to her accidentally uncovering the secret alliance between Serhat and Can, putting herself in the line of fire. The phone conversation where Zeynep insists on the need to live separately finally shatters Serhat's armor. He again feels abandoned at the most difficult moment. Against the background of such a scene, we can expect that Barak will instantly take advantage of this rift and increase the pressure on Zeynep, who is stripped of her husband's protection. Zeynep bitterly says that her home is where Serhat looks at her with love, and without that, walls make no sense. This emotional dead end will not resolve easily. In the next episode, they will surely suffer alone, but out of wounded pride, neither will take the first step forward. When Barak cold-bloodedly threatens to call the police for illegal entry if Zeynep doesn't leave, she clearly outlines her legal boundaries. Barak knows the law is on her side. This means that any further impulsive attempt by Zeynep to see the girl will result in Barak obtaining an official restraining order. Can's approach to Pelin, where he confirms his awareness of her movements, looks like a bold recruitment. In reality, it's a trap. Can intentionally portrays himself as an embittered outcast, alienated from the family. It's logical to expect that Pelin will swallow the bait and herself offer him to work for Nechat. Can feeds Pelin a perfect story. Their father always loved only Serhat, and Chan didn't get a single share. This calculated lie will definitely hit the target. In the new episode, Pelin will use exactly this motive of the deprived heir to convince the boss of Chan's readiness to betray his own blood. When Ebru directly tells her sister that dumping a man via a voice message is cruel and unfair, she voices Zeynep's main mistake. The voice of reason here sounds like a warning. Most likely, Zeynep will realize her blunder and try to fix everything, but will find that Serhat has already closed the doors on her. Can's refusal to have breakfast together and his hasty departure from the house create an oppressive atmosphere. For the deception to work, Can is forced to physically distance himself from the family. This detail hints that his deep infiltration into the enemy camp will bring real pain to his loved ones, who know nothing of Serhat's plan. Zeynep refuses to go shopping with her sister and heads to school completely alone. Deprived of Serhat's support, she is now more vulnerable than ever. Against this backdrop, it can be expected that the enemies will choose this exact moment to attack. They will intercept her on the way or right at the school gates to issue new threats. Ebru's doubts about Azra's cruelty and her sympathy for the paralyzed Jihan look like a dangerous weakness. Forgetting her ex's past sins, Ebru begins to show humanity. The most likely move here is that her pity will push her into a secret investigation of what's happening in Azra's house, making Ebru the next target. In a conversation with Pelin, John promises to leak the exact amount Serhat will bid at the tender. This is a key element of the trap. The brothers deliberately feed the spy a specific number, and when Nechat wins the bidding with exactly this stake, Serhat will get irrefutable proof of Pelin's betrayal in the very next episode. Serhat asks for the name of her perfume to remember her, but Zeynep refuses, demanding he miss her instead. This bitter dialogue proves their feelings haven't vanished anywhere. Judging by this scene, their artificial distancing will only intensify the yearning, which will eventually make Serhat snap and come to get her. Zeynep returns the forgotten item, emphasizing that no traces should be left between them. This theatrical demonstration of the breakup is just a defense mechanism. Through her coldness, she subconsciously provokes Serhat to fight for her. But it seems this maneuver will backfire when Serhat proudly accepts these rules of the game. Noticing that Kader arrived at school depressed and with messy hair, Zeynep immediately understands the scale of the disaster. The child is clearly neglected. This detail exposes Barak's negligence. In the continuation, it's logical to expect Zeynep to start meticulously documenting such signs of neglect to prepare a powerful strike for Child Protective Services. The scene where Azra smirkingly turns the wheelchair to face the wall and leaves Jihan alone demonstrates a sophisticated form of torture. Total helplessness pushes Jihan to the edge. Because of this abuse, in the next episode, he will be forced to take a deadly risk, trying to send a distress signal to the outside world. When Azra notices Ebru peeking through the window and defiantly invites her to look at the pathetic ex, she makes a gross mistake. Intoxicated by impunity, Azra loses her vigilance. It looks like Ebru, shocked by what she saw, won't be able to stay silent and will trigger a chain of events that will destroy Azra's perfect cover. Azra justifies her sadistic tendencies by saying Jihan deserved it with his past sins against the family. She uses his guilt as an indulgence. But once the family learns the truth about her methods, they will have to choose. Leave Jihan to rot in this personal hell, or save their enemy from a psychopath. Serhat's call asking to water the flowers she planted sounds like a hidden plea for reconciliation. He uses the slightest excuse to contact Zeynep. Zeynep's response to this request will determine the course of their storyline. If she refuses to return for the flowers, Serhat will perceive this as a final rejection of their future. Can defiantly gloats over Serhat after winning the tender, announcing his ambitions to play big. This public performance is meant to cement his reputation as a defector. Most likely, in the next episode, Chan will monetize this triumph by demanding from Nechat full access to the cartel's black bookkeeping. The doctor's words that a miracle is needed for Jihan's recovery sound like a final verdict. Physical restoration is impossible. Realizing he is forever confined to the chair, Jihan will abandon hope for healing and completely switch his brain to developing a cold-blooded, strategic plan to eliminate Azra. Azra promises her husband that if a miracle does happen, she will find a way to prevent it. Her obsession with revenge grows into paranoia. This fanaticism hints that she will soon start making uncontrollable, aggressive mistakes that will eventually attract police attention and break her constructed facade. When Hayal harshly demands Zainab step out of their lives if she can't make Serhat happy, she takes on the role of her father's protector. This ultimatum strikes Zainab right in the heart. It is logical to expect that her stepdaughter's words will make Zainab realize how deeply her departure shattered the peace of the entire family. Serhat informs his assistant about the lost tender and loudly declares that there is a rat in the company. He continues to play his role even in front of loyal employees. Such deep conspiracy leads to the fact that after the truth is revealed, many of Serhat's allies will feel betrayed by his lack of trust. Nakat accepts the information from Khan, but maintains a cold caution, suspecting a double game. An experienced mobster won't just take his word for it. This means that in the new episode, Nakat will arrange a brutally harsh loyalty test for Khan, forcing him to do something irreparable against Serhat's business or reputation. Savim catches Didam lying about shopping and expresses bitter regret for ever letting her into the house. The alliance is broken. Deprived of funding and a roof over her head, the embittered Didam will surely take extreme measures in the next episode and attempt to sell the secret of Kader directly to Serhat. The aggressive clash in the hallway, where Serhat shouts and lunges at Can, accusing him of selling information, looks frighteningly realistic. This conflict must convince every witness. Because of this flawless performance, Can will find himself in a complete vacuum. Even his family will turn away from him, not knowing the truth. Nakat's spy reports to the boss about the brutal brawl between the brothers, and he finally believes in their split. The trap has snapped shut. Believing that Serhat is distracted and weakened by the betrayal, Nakat will launch a massive strike on the family's main assets in the next episode, unaware he is walking right into a snare. When her friend suggests Didem simply go and beg Berak for a job, Didem winces at the thought. She is too proud and lazy for that. Instead of begging, she will choose a dirty path, trying to find compromising material right in her daughter's house to blackmail her over Kader's custody. During the meeting with Pelin, Can convincingly declares that Serhat is dead to him and he is ready for serious business. Pelin is clearly charmed by his toughness. Most likely, her growing sympathy for Can will play a cruel joke on her. Wanting to impress him, she will personally leak the weak spots of Nechat's empire to him. Ebru opens an unnamed envelope with a single word, "We will get even," and a prison stamp. The lack of a signature and the direct threat point only to Tibet. In upcoming episodes, this psychological terror from behind bars will escalate into real attacks on Ebru, forcing her to seek protection from the most unexpected people. Terrified by the letter, Ebru still flatly refuses to tell Serhat, afraid of dragging him into trouble. This decision is fatal. Trying to deal with the criminal's threat alone, she will inevitably back herself into a corner from which escape without outside help will be impossible. Nakat finally trusts Khan and hands him control over a major logistics shipment. This is not just a job, but a blood test. By giving Khan control over illegal cargo, Nakat sets him up perfectly. If the police intercept the goods, Khan will be the one going to jail as the mastermind. The meeting between Serhat and Can in a secret location completely reveals their multi-layered scheme. They discuss how smoothly the plan went. Now that Can holds the keys to Najat's logistics, his next task will be to gather documentary evidence of smuggling to deliver a fatal legal blow to the cartel. Serhat gives his brother shocking news. Kader identified Pelin as the woman who kidnapped her. This direct evidence ties Najat to the kidnapping. It is logical to expect that Serhat will use this fact not to jail a pawn, but to build an ironclad case against the mafia boss himself. The deception scheme is exposed. Pelin used Jihan's abandoned logistics company for illicit shipments and framed the accountant. The documents are hidden. After this conversation, we can expect John to secretly infiltrate the company's archives to steal the original papers, clear his brother's name, and destroy Najat's scheme from within. Learning about Pelin's role in the kidnapping, John flies into a rage, but promises Serhat to hold his emotions in check. However, controlling his anger will be tough. His forced closeness with his niece's kidnapper will create an explosive tension. John might snap at any moment, risking blowing the whole covert operation. Can sincerely acknowledges Serhat's merits in saving the family after their father's death, letting go of old grievances. This moment of absolute honesty cements their alliance. Now that there are no secrets between the brothers, any attempts by Nechat to drive a wedge between them are doomed to a crushing failure in the season finale. Serhat is determined to find out who the real mastermind behind the illegal shipments is before striking the pawns. He aims for the snake's head. Such a wait-and-see tactic means that Chan's undercover work will drag on, and every new day next to Nechat and Pelin will increase the risk of his exposure. Savim encounters a drunk Tidem sneaking back in the middle of the night and harshly cuts off her excuses. The lady of the house has run out of patience. It looks like Savim will unhesitatingly throw Didem out on the street, and deprived of her last refuge, she will take a desperate step, selling all of Berak's secrets to Serhat for money. Berak voices her final ultimatum to Zeynep, giving up Serhat in exchange for Kader. She is confident in her victory, but this direct blackmail could be her fatal mistake. The most logical next step here is that Zeynep will pretend to agree, but will secretly record Berak's threats for the custody court. Berak's threat to hide Kader and change her school if Zeynep doesn't comply sounds absolutely ruthless. The girl has become merely a bargaining chip. Cornered, Zeynep will be forced in the next episode to publicly and cruelly push Serhat away to stop Berak from carrying out this plan. Zeynep tearfully tells Serhat about the proposed deal. From his face, it is clear he has already understood her choice. Knowing Zeynep's maternal instinct, Serhat will most likely make the most painful decision. He himself will initiate their breakup to relieve her of the burden of this unbearable choice. Zeynep's attempt to explain that they each chose their own path to save different children causes a deaf rejection from Serhat. He refuses to accept this split. This resistance hints that he will retreat only formally, but will secretly pour all his resources into the legal destruction of Berak. Zeynep desperately declares that if he doesn't let her go, they won't part. She still relies on his strength. But Serhat's wounded pride has already taken over. Towards the finale, it becomes clear that their split is inevitable, and it is Serhat who will put a cruel end to this relationship. Serhat's last words, that if Zeynep leaves now, he will never come after her again, draw a final line between them. Bridges are burned. Now the logic of the storyline leads to the fact that only a sudden, deadly threat to Kader's life will be able to force them to step over their pride and unite again.